Chapter 5. Community Policing Falsehoods. I've spent almost my entire life enforcement career working in community policing. I've devoted countless hours to working in the community and mingling with citizens and gaining trust. I was the poster child for community policing. I supervised 12 highly motivated officers in the community policing unit. I reminded them on a daily basis that community policing was not just a philosophy, but a necessity in police work. When commanders and other sergeants made fun of the community policing unit, I came to its defense. In one instance in my former agency, a fellow sergeant took pictures of my officers and superimposed things onto them to make fun of the community policing events we did. During the holidays, I spearheaded food collections for people in the community and organized a community Thanksgiving dinner for 100 people in the community. During Christmas, my team collected over 3,000 toys and put on 18 holiday events to disperse toys to underprivileged kids. When my team wasn't burning the candle at both ends during the holidays, they were ridiculed and labeled the Hug-a-Thug program or the Barbecue Squad. I watched as these holiday events were used as positional equity by commanders and the chief of police to gain the community's trust, but in reality, they didn't care about what we were doing. I list some of the events not to brag about them or to impress you, but to give validity to my findings. These findings are that community policing philosophy is bullshit. It's bullshit because of the lack of community in community policing. In law enforcement, community policing is used as a con or a bait and switch. We go into these communities and we do a little song and dance in hopes that the public buys the bullshit. We drill into our new officers that community policing is important and the backbone of the agency, but in reality it's a bailout. When shit goes sideways in another state or some idiot in our profession fucks up, we withdraw some currency from the social bank. I've seen it time and time again, where we think dancing like a king's jester equates to community policing. Or doing these music videos where we get together and act like the village people is the same as engaging within the community. Community policing and community engagement are two completely different things. Community engagement is recognizing that the policing department needs to mirror the community. Having tattoo policing and beard policy in your agency is an example of this. Do you think that Sally What's-Her-Name gives two shits that you have a sleeve of tattoos while someone is breaking into her house? No! Departments are more focused on these policies than actually doing community engagement. I was always amazed when law enforcement command staff worried about the demographics of an agency mirroring the community, but not concerned that the public can care two fucks what your racial makeup is versus having officers look like human beings and not fresh off an Abercrombie and Fitch ad. Community policing has been destroyed by law enforcement leadership using and wheeling it around as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Whenever they get called out for racial inequality, they immediately start rattling off community policing initiatives, but can't tell you how those initiatives were started or who started them. In my old department, the chief would use the community policing unit as a wild card. Anytime he was about to face opposition or be hit with budget concerns, the community policing unit was deployed into the community so that the local press could take pictures. It would make me sick to see commanders show up in their shiny shoes and clean-pressed uniforms to take pictures and then take off. Many times, officers that worked for me would feel discouraged because they can see these commanders using us for their own benefit. The term community policing should be abolished. It's a catchphrase at this point, and it's honestly disingenuous. The truth is, community policing stopped being effective long ago, but it's catchy and looks good on t-shirts, so it's still around. The true name for community policing and law enforcement is being a good cop, knowing your community, and having your finger on the pulse. If you're a good street cop and you know your shit, then community policing doesn't need a title, but rather support from the command staff. I don't want the takeaway from this chapter to be fuck community policing. I want you to understand, from someone that lived and swore by it, that it's not the only way in policing to form a partnership with the community. It's time for the next generation of law enforcement to create a new culture that embraces and supports its community.